Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. And welcome to our first minis game playthrough on the channel. Today we're going to play through Massive Darkness. A game by Simon stands for Cool Mini or Not. They do a lot of minis games, hence the name. In this one we're playing heroes in a more traditional fantasy universe. You've seen a lot of Cthulhu Mythos stuff. We also have some zombie killing, but in this case we're in the fantasy universe. The way I would probably describe Massive Darkness is Zombicide meets Dungeons and Dragons. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at today's scenario, and that'll take us over to the map. So here's our map for the scenario. This is actually the introductory scenario that we're going to play through today. I am still kind of trying to get the hang of Massive Darkness, so I'm trying to keep it nice and simple. But a few things I do want to point out. First, over here we'll have our starting space, which is just down here toward the bottom of the shot. So that's where I'll put our hero minis once we're ready to get started. Then you might notice the level tokens. You got one flipped over. You got the one over here flipped over to essentially the colorful side, and you've got a level 2 over here flipped over to its inactive side. So because we're starting over here, the level 1 token will already be flipped over to active. The level determines the power of the treasures and the enemies that will have to spawn throughout the game. We also see a few door tokens. Those will cause enemies to come out, but we'll see more of that later. So the goals of this scenario are twofold and very simple. Our first goal is to get this secret lair token. The hero who picks that up will get 3 experience that they'll be able to use to pick up additional skills as they level up. You can also level up through campaign mode, but I might play the campaign at some point on the channel. I don't know yet. But after we get the secret lair token, our goal is to get out through here. So this will probably be a short scenario. Again, more for me to get the feel for the scenario than anything else. But that will do it for the scenarios all set up. Now let's go meet our heroes. Alright, here's our first hero for the day, Whisper. Yes, you can probably hear in the background I've got the air conditioning turned on because it is starting to get pretty humid already. But anyway, so each of our heroes will have what's called a shadow mode skill, and a special skill, and a recommended class. So shadow mode skill, you might have noticed over at the map that there were some spaces on the tiles that had light sources in them and some that didn't. So that's sensitive to whether you're in what's called shadow mode or not. If you're in shadow mode, then you might have special abilities on some of your items, or as I mentioned, most of the heroes have some kind of shadow mode skill with them. So Whisper, we'll take a look at her card first. So her shadow mode skill, on attack, the defender is -1 shield. So on the dice, I'll go through this a little bit more in detail when we look at the items, but on the dice, depending on the type of die, these defense dice might have shields on them. Whisper's shadow mode skill will actually cancel one of those out as long as she's attacking from shadow. Then for her special skill, we have Swift, +1 movement point for movement action. So movement points get used on the various actions throughout the game. So she'll have 1 extra movement point when she takes the movement action. Then for her recommended class, Blood Moon Night Runner. I also have her equipment, but we'll go through that in a minute. So let's take a look at her class first. So for her class, like I said, she's a Blood Moon Night Runner. She's got an action that she can use for experience up here, and then a free class skill. So her special action that she can use for 1 experience is a sprint. As she spends 1 experience, actually that doesn't look like an action, that looks like something she can just do if she spends the experience. Make 1 free movement action. Then for her free class skill, Master of Shadows, she's considered to be in shadow mode for her first attack each activation. So that means the shadow mode skill will automatically go off on her first attack, so she'll be able to cancel a shield out. Anyway, her equipment. So both of our heroes are going to start off with leather armor. So the way you read these is The levels up here, these are all starter equipment, by the way. So we've got the armor, which we'll put in her chest slot down here in a minute. But the way you look at these is, if it's a weapon, it'll have if it's a melee weapon, you'll roll this number, whatever number of dice is here. Ranged will be here. The magic attack is here. Then the shield is for defense, so when Whisper's getting attacked, she'll get to defend with a blue die. So we'll roll all that at the same time. Then for her starting weapon, she gets a short bow, and it takes up 2 hand slots. If you remember from my Arkham Horror 2nd Edition playthrough a few weeks ago, we also had to be sensitive to our hand slots in that game as well. So in this case, she actually gets to attack with a yellow die, with 2 yellow dice. So we'll put those in her hand slots. That will do it for Whisper. Now let's go meet her partner. By the way, here's her mini, and she also has the first player token, so she will be our first player this round. So now that will do it for Whisper. Let's go meet her partner. Here's her partner for today, Bjorn, a melee hero. So for his Shadow Mode skill, when we roll a BAM as part of his attack, he can deal +1 wound. Special skill, Headbutt. Once per activation, roll 1 yellow die and deal wounds equal to the number of swords plus BAMs to 1 enemy in the same zone. Recommended class, he's a Shadow Barbarian. He will be in this case. So here's the Shadow Barbarian. Crush. For 1 experience, he can instantly kill 1 targeted minion. I'll go through that a little more when we actually spawn enemies. And then for his free class skill, he gets +1 maximum health. So each of our heroes normally start with 5 health. Because Bjorn's a Shadow Barbarian, he actually starts off with 6 health. We'll give him his leather armor. And then he's actually going to start the game with an axe. See if I can, it'll let me focus in on here. Alright, here's the axe. Level 1. It's a melee weapon, so he has to be in the same space as the target, and then he attacks with 1 red die. So we'll give that to him. And the last piece of equipment that we have, it's not really equipment per se, but it's something that's very important. The Lifebringer. So at the start of the round, if there are any dead heroes, we remove 1 token from this card to resurrect and fully heal a dead hero. So we put 2 tokens on there for our start heroes. We lose the game if we have a hero revive, if we have a hero dead and we can't use the Lifebringer, the Lifebringer to bring them back to life. So that will do it for the hero introduction. I think we're ready to get this scenario started. So we'll start into our first player phase with Whisper. Whisper's down here with the red base. Bjorn will have a blue base on him. Now, Massive Darkness plays in 5 phases. So we start off with the player's phase, where each player has 3 actions to spend during the activation that you can use on movement, where you can spend 2 movement points to either move a zone, open a door, which will draw a card for the whole chamber when it's first revealed, or pick up all tokens in the zone. Combat action, so magic, melee, or ranged, and we'll see at least melee and ranged. Sorry, I'll stop stuttering now. You can reorganize or trade, which will trade with all heroes in your zone, or you can reorganize your inventory. Get up, so a hero recovers from a stun effect, and that will have to be your first action if you're stunned. You can also do nothing, lose all of your remaining actions. And then then you have a couple things you can do without spending any actions. So you can transmute, which will let you discard 3 equipment cards and draw one level higher than the lowest of them. Or you have a signature attack. So spend an experience point to execute it once per activation. Then you have the counter attack. So at the end of the activation, any surviving enemies the hero attacked are activated and try to attack. So there's a specific step to those, which I'll go through when an enemy phase comes up or when we get a counterattack, whatever happens first. But anyway, enough rambling, so now let's get into the play itself. So Whisper's going to start with her first action. So we're going to move up here to this space. You can see the separation on these tiles. Cool Mini or Not usually does a fantastic job with these tiles in making sure that there's space, that you can tell what's a space and what isn't. But anyway, I'm once again getting off track. For action 2, we'll go ahead and open this door. So we will open that door, and then we'll spawn the entire chamber. I didn't mean to jar the camera there. So we've got a door card here, and we get... Alright, so guards. Two treasures in here, but no enemy. So we'll grab 2 treasures. We'll put them in here. Second room is three treasures, but we also spawn a guard card. So there are 3 treasures, and we need a guard card. We need a level 1 guard card. So that middle room is guarded by a mob of goblin archers. So we put out a. So we're going to put out a boss minion, or a boss goblin archer, and 2 minions, because that number actually indicates the number per hero. So we'll put out a boss and 2 minions. They each have 1 health. And when they're ranged attacking, if they get a bam, they get +1 wound. So if they're melee, they attack with 1 yellow die. If they're ranged, they attack with 2 yellow dice, and then they defend with 1 blue. So we'll go find the Goblin Archer. What did I do with the... Okay. Let's see. So Goblin Archers, we need the boss Goblin Archer. Do not look like archers. These are the archers. So I need 2 of these. 2. I can't count today. And what did I do with the boss? Ah, here we go. Goblin Archers, number 13, right on top. Seems weird looking at a boss, but okay. Alright, so these 2 are our minions. This one's the boss archer. We have to kill the minions before we can kill the... before we can kill the boss. But because we have a boss, we also have to draw an equipment card, a treasure, to go with that. So we get a level 1 treasure with it. The boss will be wielding... Trapped chest. Discard it and draw again, so we don't give the boss traps or consumables. Well, we don't give the boss traps, but we do give them consumables. The Charm of Protection. Okay. So on defense, you may reroll 1 of the attack dice 1 additional... So, yeah, may reroll 1 of the attack dice 1 additional time. That's when they're on defense. Alright, so that was action 2. Action 3, I think we will have Whisper step in. Alright, so that will do it for Whisper. Bjorn now has 3 actions. So for his action 1, he will actually move 2 spaces into this room. Then he's going to move... And for action 2, he's going to move in here. And action 3, he's going to take a swing with his axe. So we see he gets... So we'll give him his 1 red die. And then the Goblin Archers defend with a blue. So on a red die, this is one of the attack dice, so you might have 1 no swords, 2 and a bam, 3 and a diamond, 2 and a bam. Those are the... We got 2 of those 2 and a bam. So those bams and diamonds are just additional effects that you might have on attack. And the Goblin Archer mob will defend with a blue die with 1... As it goes flying, thankfully it landed somewhere I could get at it easily enough. So we have 2 blank sides. We have 1, 2, 3 sides with 1 with a single shield, and then 2 and a bam. So we'll put those all in the cup. Bring the dice tower down here in shot. And let's roll this attack out and see what happens. Alright, it's mildly crowded on the token, or on the tile, but we can see that there is a light source in there. So this attack is not considered to be in shadow mode. But anyway, we do roll 1 sword and no shields. So you just take the difference between, so you accumulate, you roll the dice, you add everything up, so all of the extra effects, the BAM or the, actually, it may re-roll one of the attack dice one additional time. So, okay, no, we're not going to, we don't use that on the, if we have to take out minions first. So we roll 1, which means we do get to take one of the Goblin Archer minions out, and Bjorn gains 1 experience, which will impact in the experience phase. So now we have a counterattack. That's all 3 of Bjorn's actions, but we're not quite done with the player phase yet because we do have a counterattack. So the steps on that would be a hero would be an enemy would try to attack. Then if they can't, they move for step 2. Step 3, they try to attack again, and then step 4, they move. There's a complicated targeting priority, but we won't worry about that here. But we are also in the same... Actually, before we do that, I almost forgot about the special skill for Bjorn. So once per phase, so once per activation, roll 1 yellow die and deal wounds equal to the number of sword plus BAMs to 1 enemy in the same zone. So we'll go ahead and roll this yellow die. And we get a 1, so he gets to take out another minion, which will give him 2 experience. Alright, so now the Goblin Archer attacks, and because he's melee, he does get to, because he's got a melee target, he does get to attack. So Bjorn defends with a blue, the Goblin Archer boss attacks with a yellow. Oh my. Bjorn is going to get rocked. So fortunately this is a melee attack, so it doesn't, so the effect on the Goblin Archers does not go off. But that's bad enough because Bjorn is actually taking 2 damage. So he goes down to 4. And then now we're in the enemy phase. So once again we basically have the same thing that we had earlier that we just did. So the Goblin Archer is going to get to attack at melee once again, which is rather unfortunate, but nothing we can do about that. We get another one, so Bjorn gets hit once again. And now we don't go through the rest of that activation for the enemies because basically once an enemy is able to make an attack, the activation just stops at that point. So that's something. But anyway, that will do it for the enemy phase. We'd move back up top to the heroes for the experience phase. But looking at the board, looking at the heroes, nobody has enough experience to level anything up. So we'll just go right in to the event phase. Alright, we stayed at the map, so we'll have our first event card here. Let's have a look at what we draw. Rear Monster Patrol. If there are already roaming monsters in play, activate one. If not, spawn a roaming monster card. Place the enemy in a zone with the token of the current level, -1. Ignore this card at level 1. So we actually duck it, it looks like. We don't actually get a monster this time. Alright, so that will do it for the event phase. That was very quick. End phase, first player token passes over to Bjorn. And now we're back into the player phase, and we'll start with Bjorn. Alright, we'll get started with Bjorn. Now, I'm going to remember to use his special ability for once. His special skill. So once per activation, you roll a yellow die and deal wounds equal to the number of swords plus BAMs on one of the enemy in the same zone. So So we're going to use that on the Goblin Archer boss. Bring the dice tower back in shot. And we roll 1. We roll a sword, which is enough to take out the Goblin Archer boss. Both of our heroes will get 3 experience, which means Whisper will go up to 2, Bjorn will go up to 5, and we'll need to actually be sensitive to that in the experience phase. Bjorn also takes the Charm of Protection since he took out the Goblin Archer boss, and we'll shuffle the Goblin Archers back into the deck. Not the lesser roaming monster deck. Here we go. Guard deck. I'm going to do this on a weird angle, but I think I can manage. Give that one more shuffle. And a cut. I'll bring the dice tower out of shot because I don't think we'll need it. And then we have Bjorn's activation. So for action 1, he's going to pick up all of the treasures in this zone. So we draw 3. So we draw 3 level 1 treasures, and we can immediately rearrange his inventory for free. Right? I believe so. Let me double check that. I think when you... I'm pretty sure when you do a pickup action, you can rearrange your inventory for free with any treasure you get. Where's pickup? Ah, here we go. As long as there are no... Yep, okay, you can reorganize your inventory. So, first card up for Bjorn is a Plague Javelin, which is a ranged weapon. We might consider giving this to Whisper. On a BAM +1 wound and attack with 2 yellow dice. Card 2. Javelin of Sure Strike. Ooh. On attack you can reroll blank results 1 additional time. Got plenty of stuff I could pass over to Whisper. And Chainmail Armor. Okay, this is where we have a defense effect. So on a BAM, he gets +1 shield and defends with a blue die. So we'll swap out his leather armor for that. And I'll plan on passing one of these javelins most likely over to Whisper, but we'll see what she gets. Action 2, he'll move to this zone. Then action 3, he'll pick up the secret lair token, and both heroes, I believe both heroes get 3 experience from that, right? No, just the hero who picks it up. So Bjorn gets another 3 experience. So he will go up to 8, and will actually be busy on his experience phase. And then action 3, he'll go ahead and open the door. Since we already had this chamber revealed, we don't spawn monsters for it again. So that will do it for Bjorn. Whisper, for action 1, she will go ahead and pick up the treasures in her zone. So she'll get 2 level 1 treasures as well. She will get, for 1, a mace, level 1 melee weapon. On attack, defender is -1 shield and attacks with a yellow die in melee. And a dwarven shield. Alright, an equipped two-handed weapon is instead considered as one-handed and thus can be paired. So there's nothing here I really want to rearrange for Whisper. So action 2, I'll move her over to Bjorn. And then action 3, we'll do some trading. So so we'll do a reorganize / trade. So Whisper will move the mace and the shield over to Bjorn. And in return, Bjorn is going to give her both of the javelins. So we'll give her both the javelins, which Whisper will immediately equip the Plague Javelin over her short bow. And then Bjorn will equip the shield with his axe, because we can pair it with a one-handed. We can consider an axe as a one-handed weapon because of the shield. So anyway, that will do it for our heroes. We don't have any enemies because Bjorn managed to kill the Goblin Archer boss. So we'll move back up top for the experience phase. Alright, so we are back up top for the experience phase. Unfortunately, Whisper, as we take a quick look at her board, Whisper only has 3 experience, so we can't do anything with her. Bjorn, however, has 8 experience by the peg being down here next to the 8. So we actually get to give him a skill on the sheet. So as you can see, we have various effects that we can use based on the experience that we get. So I think for 5 experience, we'll go ahead and give Bjorn charge. So what charge means is you can run up to an enemy and you can move up to 2 spaces to an enemy and then make a melee attack. Just like you might think with it. So we'll move the peg from 8 to 3. And that was a very short experience phase, so let's take a look at our next event card as long as we're back here up top. We draw. And that seemed to want to focus today. Oop. As it goes flying. Let's try this again. There we go. Shadow Blessing. Heroes in shadow zones may heal 1. We are not in a shadow zone, so that's rather unfortunate. I wouldn't have minded letting Bjorn heal a little bit because he's getting busted up. But that will do it for the event phase. Now in the end phase, player 1 will move over to Whisper, and then we'll start off into a new player phase, and we'll move over to Whisper. We're back here with Whisper, once again with the red base. Now, we could easily just make a beeline for the exit, but that wouldn't be much fun. So we're going to go ahead and come down here and explore this other room, because why not? So for action 1, Whisper is going to step out of the door and move over here as for 2. So that's her. Wait a minute. That might be 2 moves actually, because she's got 3 movement points. But spends 2 movement points to. Okay, so we have. Okay, so yeah. And we'll spend an experience actually to make a free movement action to make a free movement, and we'll open the door. So we'll go ahead and spawn the door. By the way, now that we've moved into the level 2 icon, it is now active. So we'll see what we spawn here in a second. Alright, so for our door there, okay, 3 treasures but no enemy. Then we have 3 more treasures, but we're spawning a level 2 guard this time. Which means so for a level 2 guard, we end up with level 2 Spectral Walkers. These have 2 health, 2 damage per 2 health. We have 2 walkers plus a boss walker. Melee or ranged defense, +1 shield. Magic defense, -2 shields. On melee, they attack with 2 yellow dice and defend with a blue and a green die. Now, these are actually from Zombicide Green Horde, which I need to go get. So I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. I had to go find the walkers for my copy of Zombicide Green Horde, but there are spectral walkers. I think this one will represent our boss walker. That actually kind of worked out well. I wasn't planning on that. And then the treasure that it will be wielding is a short sword, so it adds a red die to its attack. Fortunately, it's still a melee attack, so that will be helpful. Alright, so that was action 1 was to move, and then the free... Actually, no. 2 actions, and then we used a free action. So for action 3, I'm going to draw... I'm going to move Whisper over here. Mostly my goal... My goal here is I'm going to try to draw them... I'm going to try to draw them up here and then land on them. So I think for Bjorn's turn, with that in mind, I'm going to use 2 of his actions. Let me double check how charge works. Then 1 combat action with the hero who moves 1 or 2 to a zone that performs a free melee. Okay. Alright, so for action 1, Bjorn will move down here, and then he's actually going to transmute. So we're going to discard these 3 level 1 items to get a level 2 item. So we'll put that with the... I think I put the starting equipment back in the box. But anyway, so we'll discard those and we'll get a level 2 treasure. Bjorn will get a meteor javelin, which is a ranged weapon. So on an attack BAM, the defender gets -1 shield, and on an attack diamond, the defender loses a defense die. So attacks with a yellow and a red die on ranged. So I'm not real happy to see a ranged weapon, but I can't really help that right now. And then he's going to pass his last action. So now we're going to move into the enemies phase. So these spectral walkers are going to try to attack, but they can't. So they'll move for step 2. Step 3, they'll try to attack again, but they won't be able to. Then step 4, they'll land exactly where I want them to. And then that will do it for the enemies phase. There's nothing to do in the experience phase. So now we'll have our fresh event, and we get... Unexpected monster. Spawn a roaming monster card. Place the enemy in a zone with token of the current level -1. Ignore this card at level 1. Alright, so we spawn a roaming monster card. Because it's level 2, we get a lesser roaming monster. So we end up with a water elemental. Oh boy, lesser roaming monster. Slippery. Slippery means moves to an adjacent zone if its target is in its zone. 5 health to kill. This thing's gonna be bad news. Its magic attack rolls the same number and color of dice as the last attack it suffered. Ignore its equipment card. Its equipment when attacking. All right, so we'll get the water elemental out. Spider, earth elemental. There's a number on here that may make my life easy. 51. Okay. I know I have the water elemental. Ah, there we go. Water elemental. Alright, so we place that in a zone with the token of the current level -1. So we'll put that over here, right behind Bjorn. That's going to be a problem. But we do have to draw a treasure to go with it. So the water elemental will have a kite shield, which means it defends with 2 blue dice. Oh geez. So it's going to have its full complement of attacks. Okay, maybe getting greedy wasn't the best idea in the world, but that will do it for this event phase. So in the end phase, our first player token will be moving over to Bjorn, and then we'll be back into a heroes phase, and we'll start that off with Bjorn. Okay, change of plans. We got a little greedy, and now we've got something dangerous hovering over us. So now we're going to try to take these things out and just get out of here. So Bjorn is going to take a charge action, so he's going to spend... actually, no. His first action is going to be the charge, so he's going to spend a combat action to move into the space, and then he's going to attack with his axe. So he's going to attack with... Actually, no, that was dumb. Well, actually, I wouldn't have been able to use the javelin yet anyway. So he's going to attack with a red die, and then the spectral walkers are going to defend with a blue and a green. Fortunately, they are on melee defense, so they lose one shield. Which I need to lose one shield, but I still can't touch him. So on his activation, I'm going to also roll a yellow die, which will let me deal... Which once again will let me deal the wounds equal to swords plus BAMs to one enemy in the zone. I'll go for one of the minions. So I get to deal 1 damage to one of the minions. Then for action 2, we'll run the attack back. Okay, we get 1 sword, so the minion is dead. We get Bjorn will get 1 experience, which he'll stay at 3 because we had to spend 1 to use the headbutt. And then we'll run the attack back one last time and see if we can get something good out of it. I definitely like having a dice cup with a velvet interior. Makes it a lot easier to talk over it if I need to. Holy cow. Okay, so we resolved any BAMs first, but we have none. So, yeah, the Spectral Walkers basically just slap... Oh no, they're +1 defense. Never mind. Yeah, so they get +1 shield on defense, which means, yeah, we don't touch them in a million years anyway. Which is unfortunate, because now we're also getting counterattacked. Actually, wait a minute. I think we rolled it like that, but I don't think it still would matter anyway. Because that BAM would give us 1 additional wound because of Bjorn's shadow mode, but yeah, we still wouldn't hit that anyway. So never mind. Alright, so in that case, we get attacked back. So the Spectral Walkers attack with 2 yellow dice. We defend with 2 blue dice. So we've got we got a BAM effect on the chainmail armor, which I'm hoping to see. Which I get. I have +1 shield on that, so that's basically 3. There's no BAM on the... Oh, I forgot to add the red die for the short sword of the Guardian. Yeah! So, we have +1 shield, but that's not going to matter, because Bjorn actually goes down. So Bjorn's been killed. Now let's see if Whisper can have any better luck. So she's going to use the Plague Javelin into this space for action 1. She attacks with 2 yellow dice. They defend with a blue and a green. And for Whisper's Shadow Mode skill, Defender is going to be -1 shield. Which effectively cancels out the Spectral Watcher melee or ranged defense +1 shield. Alright, so 2 and 2 means we don't get anything there. So action 2, we'll go ahead and run it back. Because I had a yellow dye fall out. I will have to go get that. But I don't like the results I'm seeing. Yeah, that wasn't much help. So fortunately we have no BAM effect on defense, but we don't get the... we don't even get to hit them. Then I'll spend 1 experience from Whisper to make a free movement activation to move back toward the exit. I don't have to escape yet. I don't escape once I land on there, I don't think. Let me double check that. Zone. Okay, that's not what I want to see. Moving. Yeah, I don't think the scenario is over until I think there's another action, basically another movement action to escape. So yeah. Then Whisper for action 3 will run the attack back one last time. And once again, we are still in shadow mode. Okay, so attack, BAM gives us +1 wound. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We cannot make any headway against these walkers. Anyway, that will do it for the... oh boy, this is going to be a big problem. So, the walkers try to attack, but they can't. So, that's step 1. Step 2, they move again. Step 3, they try to move and can't. And step 4, they move toward Whisper. Then the water elemental does the same thing. So, tries to attack, can't. And it's going to be moving toward the live hero with the most experience, I believe. I know there are movement rules on here. I'm just trying to remember what they are off the top of my head. View 15. Okay, so that's not quite what I want to see. Ah, here we go. So it's looking for the hero within range. So it's looking for players choose regardless of experience. Yeah, it looks like it goes after the live hero with the most experience. So the spectral walkers are going after Whisper, which means also the water elemental can see Whisper, so it will try to attack 1, can't, move 2, try to attack, can't, 3, and then move 4 into the space with Bjorn, who's going to pop up with a rather rude awakening. Alright, so heroes have been activated. Now we go to the experience phase, still nothing going on here. And now we have an event phase. So now we draw. God of Fortune's Blessing. Place 2 normal treasure tokens in a zone with the current level token. So I will put those here. Then that will do it for this round. End phase, first player moves over to Whisper. Then at the start of the round, well, start of the round will be Whisper. So we have a multitude of problems here. Our first problem is that our first charge of the Lifebringer goes away and brings Bjorn back up with full health, which is 6 for him. Our second problem is that I can't get Whisper out of the space with the... I can't get either hero out of a space So we're probably gonna get turned inside out on our next enemy phase. So unfortunately, Whisper is going to have to pass her turn because she can't move and her weapons are all ranged, which means she has to attack from at least one space away. So yeah, that didn't work out very well for us. Bjorn, however, has some options, but I'm basically at the mercy of the luck of the dice here. So Bjorn is going to try to attack with 1 red, and in a laugh, the water elemental is going to defend with 3 blue. And thankfully, moves to an adjacent zone if its target is in its zone. So does it attack and then move? The hero can leave zones with enemies while moving. So, okay, actually, I take that back. So actually, Bjorn can leave with the water elemental in the space. Right? Hero can leave zones with enemies while moving. Yeah? Okay. So Bjorn will take a combat action to try to get over to save Whisper. And then he'll attack with, let me make sure I'm rolling the right dice. 1 red, and then the Spectral Walkers defend with a blue and a green. We'll do the headbutt in a minute. Yeah, so yeah, the charge basically does nothing. So that was action 1. We'll actually spend an experience to instantly kill a minion. So we'll take out this, I think this was a minion. So we'll give Bjorn 1 experience, bring him back up to 3 for that. Now we'll do the headbutt on the boss. That's 1 wound on the boss. And then we'll run a full attack back, so defend with a blue and a green, attack with a red. Good lord. Right, so that does nothing, and then then we'll run the attack back again. Ay, ay, ay. Right. Okay, so that neither attack worked there. I am not rolling anything to speak of today. So the Spectral Walkers will the Spectral Walker boss will counterattack. Uses 2 yellow and a red die. Bjorn defends with 2 blue dice. The 2 blue dice going in. And then we'll roll this out. On defense, we do have a ban on the chainmail armor for +1 shield. Which doesn't end up mattering in the grand scheme of things anyway, because we take another 3 damage. Then the water elemental tries to attack, can't. Step 2 tries to attack, move. Step 3 tries to attack, can't. Oh, jeez. Step 4. So it gets to us, which is going to be a huge problem. Then we move into the experience phase, but there's nothing to speak of here. So we'll draw an event card. We get Rear Patrol. Spawn a guard card. Place the enemy in a zone with the current token of the current level -1. Ignore this card at level 1. So we spawn a level 2 guard, which means we get Dwarf Warriors. 2 health on these, 2 plus a boss. Let's see, the dwarf, these are going to be the dwarf warriors. 20, dwarf defender, dwarf warrior, here we go. So we need 2 of those, and the boss dwarf warrior is number 23. I didn't pull it out already by chance, did I? No. That's a dwarf agent. 23, there we go. Alright, so the minion dwarf defenders and the boss. This one's the boss, so we'll put those here, and then the dwarf warriors with them will have, or the dwarf warrior boss will have, a level 2 scepter, which is a magic weapon. So it uses 1 red die on a magic attack. Anyway, that will do it for the event phase. End phase, first player will pass over to Bjorn, and then we'll have a fresh round starting with the player phase. In the unlikely event we can kill the boss Spectral Walker on our exit zone and the Water Elemental both, we can escape and end the scenario. So first we're going to use Bjorn's going to use his headbutt on the Water Elemental. So let's see what we get. Bubkus. That's fantastic. Alright, so action 1, he'll attack the boss Spectral Walker, which will defend with a blue and a green. And then he will attack with a red. Might be worth trying to no. Transmuting right now is a dumb idea. Actually, I can get out of the space with a Water Elemental if I need to, and I might. Okay, so we have a... I forgot their +1 shield on melee defense, so that actually didn't do anything, unfortunately. Yeah. Right, action 2, we'll run the attack back. Shadow mode, we are in shadow mode, actually, so that still doesn't do anything. Action 3, run it back. And we got the yellow die, I think. Did we roll the yellow die? Oh, it's hidden back here. No, we didn't roll the yellow die. The green die got stuck, and we still fail miserably. Right, so the Spectral Walker boss counterattacks. It attacks with 2 yellow and a red. Bjorn defends with a blue. 2 blue. This is still going to be hilarious. Okay, so we actually somehow managed to survive that with no attack whatsoever, with no damage. But that will do it for Bjorn. Whisper, however, is in a very bad way. Since the Spectral Walker is still there, we can't move off the space, so we don't really have anything we're able to do. So we'll have to pass. All right, so we'll start off with our moving dwarf warriors over here. Try to attack, can't, but they're looking in line of sight because they can see Bjorn. That's who they're moving toward. So step 1, they try to attack and can't. Step 2, they move. Step 3, try to attack, can't. Alright, so they've moved. The Spectral Walker will attack Bjorn. Actually, It's in a space... Yeah, with most experience, I have to have it attack Bjorn. So it defends. So it attacks with 2 yellow and a red because of the short sword, and Bjorn defends with 2 blue. Which this is going to be absolutely hilarious. Alright, so 3 and 4, shockingly we survived that. Don't ask me how, because the answer will be I don't know. Then the water elemental will attack as well. It doesn't have any melee attack, so it can't attack with that. It does leave the space, though. So it gets into position to attack, and it can attack Bjorn. So it rolls the same number of colors. It's the last attack it suffered. So it rolls a yellow and a red on a magic attack, and Bjorn once again defends with 2 blue. Fortunately, there's nothing special here. Bjorn only takes 1 damage, which is not terrible. Alright, so that's the end of the enemy phase. Now we go into the experience phase, and there's still nothing to speak of. Our event phase, we draw. Shadow Inspiration. Choose 1 hero to immediately perform 1 action. Well, in that case, I'm going to choose Bjorn to try to attack the boss Spectral Walker again. So, once again, we attack with a red. And they defend with a green and a blue. Oop. At least I'm assuming I'm reading all that right. Now would be the time, just my luck, where I find out that I've been playing this all wrong. Sorry, I'm just looking this up real quick. Like I said, it would be just my luck now if I've been reading that wrong all along, but I don't think I have been. Rolling. Yeah, no, I think I've been reading this right all along. So adds everything up. So I've been doing that right all along. So yeah. So this is attack on the Spectral Watcher, or on the Spectral Walker. God, I still got Arkham on the brain. And somehow the Spectral Walker boss is actually dead, so Bjorn gets the short sword, which I'll immediately equip over top of the axe. Both of our heroes get 3 experience for defeating the boss, but that won't be relevant because when we'll move into the player phase next, and then both of our heroes will the first player will pass over to Whisper, and then both of our heroes will escape and end the adventure. So it got hairy there when I got a little greedy, but let's move back up top and we'll wrap this video up. So that got a little bit hairy toward the end. And that was the tutorial mission. That's still me kind of getting the feel for the game a little bit, but I do really like Massive Darkness, and I've been meaning to get it to the table more. But anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of Massive Darkness. Next week, we'll be stepping back into the Cthulhu mythos for a while, and specifically the Arkham Horror files for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be unboxing Return to the Circle Undone for Arkham Horror the card game. That's due out on the 27th. So that'll be next week's video. Thank you for watching this video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.